So hello everyone and welcome to Career Launcher. So in today's class we are going to discuss about 52nd G7 Summit. I'm sure you must be aware currently the G7 Summit is going on and we are actually talking about the G7 Summit. This is very much in the news in the month of June. So that's why it becomes very important. Okay. Now, the first thing you should be knowing, we'll be discussing about the G7 summit. We have seen a lot of questions on G20 and others. So, of course, they can ask questions from G7, just like BRICS, SAARC. These are very important groupings. Similarly, G7 is also very important international grouping. So, this year we are seeing 52nd G7 summit. Sometimes they ask this question. कि कौन सा वाला G7 summit हो रहा है? So the answer is it is 52nd G7 summit that is happening. Okay, now the first question that is in front of you is where is the current G7 summit happening? Or the G7 summit 2026 happened where? So these types of question can be asked. Or 52nd G7 summit happened where? So the answer actually is France is the right answer. And please tell me that which city you think in your mind. No, because it's a recorded video, so you can think in your mind and answer yourself. So the right answer is Evian-les-Bains. This is the city in France. 52nd G7 summit is actually happening here from 15 to 17 June 2026. Okay. So we have seen previously also, earlier also, the 57th G7 summit happening actually in 2003, like in 29th G8 summit happening. So now at that time it was called as G8, but now it has become G7. So we will discuss in detail about this. So initially it was G6, it became G7, then it became G8, then again it became G7. So we will learn in this class the history of G7 also because it is very important. Okay. So at that time it was G8. So 29th G8 summit also happened in 2003 in Evian-les-Bains, the same place in France. Okay. So let us begin. And this city is very beautiful, let me tell you. And because it is on the bank of a prominent lake. If you know the lake, please answer yourself in your mind. कि क्या है इस lake का नाम? So where is India? This is Europe. Now I'll tell you it's a nice, very beautiful place. These are some of the images also. So when I zoom it, here you can see. So this is Italy. This is Switzerland and this is France. And I'm sure you must be aware that somewhere here you will find Alps. Roughly I'm making Alps mountains, and that's why when we talk about it, Switzerland is a very beautiful place because of the valleys created by Alps mountains. Okay. Now let me zoom it further. We have Basel, very famous. Zurich, very famous. Hai na? Why Zurich is famous? Right now we have seen Noida airport inaugurated. So that is actually made by a joint venture from Zurich company. There's a Zurich company. Now let me zoom this region. This is a France-Switzerland border, right? And let me zoom it. Okay, so this is actually the border. There's a reason why I'm zooming it. Are you able to see? So here is Switzerland. This one on the right side is Switzerland. On the left side is France. Now see very prominent cities. Very famous cities. So this is Evian-les-Bains in the France region. Evian-les-Bains. Okay. Here you'll find Geneva. Are you able to see Geneva? It is a part of Switzerland. Geneva, you'll find headquarters of WHO, WTO, many other organizations. Even there are a lot of UN office in Geneva. Okay. And here is Lausanne. So when you have read World War I, Treaty of Lausanne is very famous. Right. Now there was one more question. Court of Arbitration for Sports is headquartered where? So the answer is Lausanne, Switzerland. Okay. These types of questions we have seen in previous year. And this is actually, we have a very famous Treaty of Lausanne also signed. So we have seen a lot of things happening in Switzerland. So Lausanne is here, Geneva is here, Basel is here, Zurich is here. Prominent cities, famous cities, from international relations perspective. In fact, it is said that a lot of people actually, foreign delegates landed in Geneva and from there they came to Evians. So Geneva, this region actually is in Switzerland and this Evians is actually in France. So you can see this is the border. So Geneva is actually in Switzerland, whereas this is actually in France. Evian-les-Bains. Now, why we are discussing in detail, this lake is very important. Are you able to see Lac Leman written? This is called as Lake Geneva, named after the Geneva city, Geneva of Switzerland, right? Lake Geneva is a deep lake on the north side of Alps, right? Northern side of Alps. So it means somewhere here is the Alps mountain. So northern side of Alps, you will find this. Okay. And between Switzerland and France, it is one of the largest lake in Western Europe. And the largest course of road, river, etc. So this is actually what you should be knowing about. So this is the beautiful city of Evian-les-Bains of France. So when you open the G7 website, you will find this photo. So this lake is Lake Geneva, or also known as Lac Leman. So, but famously it is called as Lake Geneva. So this, you can see, this is the Geneva Lake or Lake Geneva. Because nowadays they are asking these types of questions also in detail. So you should know what exactly is Lake Geneva, etc. Okay. Yes. 15 to 17 June 2026. 52nd summit, G7 summit is happening here in France. So these are the G7 countries: Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, US, and the entire European Union. Okay. So I've told you, when we are talking about G20 countries, it includes 19 countries, entire European Union, and entire African Union. Similarly, when we talk about G7 countries, there are 7 countries plus entire European Union. We'll be discussing about how to remember this. So these are the invited countries: Brazil, Egypt, India, Kenya, South Korea. So you can see Ukraine is being invited in recent years, especially after the beginning of Russia-Ukraine war. In almost all the G7 summits, Ukraine was invited. Now, you should know India has also been invited as a guest. Now, always remember, India is a member of G20. But India is not a member of G7. However, India is invited as a guest there. That is what you should be knowing about. Okay, let's move on. Now, in the G7 summit recently happened, you can see it here. PM Modi is there and Mr. Donald Trump is meeting, and Donald Trump is tapping Modi ji, with Modi ji. So he's having actually talks and all, and patting on his hand 3 times. This was actually in the news. Now, this is very important because recently we have seen US attacking our sailors. And almost around 3 sailors have laid down their lives. So at this moment, it is very important because India is not directly involved in the war. But they were accused, USA was saying that you are involved in doing trade or something like that. And that's why we are attacking. Of course, we have not openly fought against America, or we have not declared any such war. So it was not correct. And that's why there were a lot of pressure in India also, that people were demanding that Modi ji should convey this message to Donald Trump that India is not happy, etc. Okay, India demands end to US attacks on ship after 3 sailors actually died. So these things were actually coming in the news. So there are a lot of pressure within India that yes, you should raise this concern in front of Donald Trump at G7 summit. Okay, so this is actually the G7 members: Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, US, and European Union. So European, and this is very important. Antonio Costa is the European Council President and Ursula von der Leyen is the European Commission President. Now, why it is important? Think in your mind. ये क्यों इतना ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है? The reason is basically these 2 officials of European Union were chief guest this year. Chief guest at India's Republic Day. And that is why it becomes very, very important. Republic Day, 26 January 2026. Okay, that's what you should be knowing. So these are G7 countries. Now, how to remember it? It's very easy. I've told you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Right? America, Britain, Canada, D, E को काट दो, F से France, G से Germany, H को काट दो, I से Italy, and J से Japan. So these are G7 countries. So G7 countries includes these 7 countries plus entire European Union. So this entire European Union is also represented here. Why I'm telling you about these things? Because these are asked in the exam. Which of the following is not a member of G7? Which of the following is not a member of SAARC? Which of the following is not a member of G20? ये सब questions आते हैं, है ना? Like BRICS summit is also going to happen in India this year. So that's why it becomes very, very important. ये सब चीजें बिल्कुल पूछी जा सकती हैं directly. Okay? So let us see. है ना? These are the invitees. है ना? So invited by India was also invited. India is not a member of G7. You can see India is not a member, but we have been invited as a guest. As a guest बुलाया जाता है. ठीक है? And one of the invited guests was Saudi Arab. Mohammed bin Salman was supposed to attend. I mean, he was invited, but he did not attend. Okay, that is what you should be knowing. Next, let's talk about the history of G7. Now, why it is important, I'll tell you. Dekho. The history of G7 starts from 1973 almost around. Again, right now we are witnessing Arab-Israel war. Israel-Palestine conflict. We have seen similar conflict in 1948, 1967, 1973. Now this 1973 war, what we call it as Yom Kippur War. Okay, so this actually is linked with here. Now, first of all, let me tell you what happened was, we have seen, I've told you this actually, the war is actually very old. So from 1940s onwards, we have seen this. So Israel-Arab war, we have seen, again, what we call it as Israel-Palestine war. So Arab world was supported by the Egypt and other countries like Jordan, etc. So at that time, fine. So we are not going in that history. We have seen actually questions also from here, even in the past. So basically, that war is called as Yom Kippur War, 1973, also known as Arab-Israel War. The fourth Arab-Israel War happened in 1973, also known as Ramadan War. Okay. So, for example, Ramadan is important month for Muslims, and Yom Kippur is actually for Jews. Okay. So basically, we have seen this war. I'm not going in the war right now because otherwise a new topic will be emerged. So basically, after this war, the Saudi Arab, led by Sheikh Faisal, King Faisal was the king at that time. He decided to suddenly increase the prices of oil. And yes, you can see WTI means West Texas Intermediate. This is actually one of the crude oil, name of one of the crude oil, very famous. Brent crude, West Texas Intermediate, hai na? These are famous ones. So 1973, are you able to see sudden increase in prices? Are you able to see? In fact, more than doubled. Oil embargo, they had put an embargo on Israel friendly countries, etc. and all. And because of which the oil prices increased and a lot of problems happened. So that is why the G7 countries decided, and the countries decided, the industrialized countries decided after the 1973 oil crisis that they should come together, meet and all. So they formed what we call it as library group, which over a period of time became G6. G6. Now before that, let me tell you one more thing. Okay. Since we are talking about it, please watch this class, Bretton Woods Career Launcher Law Interest. Why I'm telling you, because here, this is on our YouTube channel, Law Interest YouTube channel, we have actually discussed about the Bretton Woods Conference, World Bank, IMF, WTO, etc. Also, I have discussed about 1973 oil crisis also a little bit, where I've discussed about Nixon shock, or what we call it as the collapse of Bretton Woods system. So these all are related with 1973 Arab-Israel war, led to oil embargo, led to Nixon shock, led to G7, everything actually is rooted here. So basically, they formed library group. Over a period of time, it was formed as G6 summit in 1975. First summit happened in France. The city is different, not Evangelis-Benz, but some other city. Then next year, it became G7 with the addition of Canada. Second summit happened in US. Then over a period of time, you can see in 1977, even European Union was also invited. The president of European Commission and others were invited to join, right? Then we have seen 1989, very important. In France, in Paris, what happened? Financial Action Task Force was formed. FATF. What is that? What is that? FATF. So basically, it is Financial Action Task Force is an intergovernmental organization headquartered in 1989, founded in 1989 by G7 countries to combat money laundering, and now it is also includes terror financing to fight that. Okay, now we are currently having 40 countries. English and French is their official language, headquartered in Paris. Now they have two very famous lists. One is called as grey list, another is called as black list. So this is blacklist, high risk jurisdiction subject to call for action. Now under blacklist, there are 3 countries. You should remember at least blacklist, because grey list, you will find a lot of countries. Okay, so you should remember about blacklist countries. So these are Democratic Republic of Congo. Oh, this is called as actually North Korea. They call themselves DPRK, Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. And Democratic People's Republic of Korea, it means North Korea. Next is Iran, and the third is Myanmar. So these 3 are actually included in blacklist. Serious strategic deficiency, of course, because I mean Iran, you must be knowing, it does not have a very good relation with the USA, etc. and all. Okay. And Myanmar, since 2021 military coup, we have seen, etc. Next is grey list, jurisdiction under increased monitoring. It is officially called as this, right? Now, it includes Algeria, Angola, Bolivia, Bulgaria, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Democratic Republic, Congo, Haiti, Kenya, Kuwait. Even Kuwait is there, surprising. Laos, Lebanon, Monaco, Namibia, Nepal, Papua New Guinea, South Sudan, Syria. South Sudan, yes, you can say Sudan, South Sudan, we are witnessing civil war, etc. Venezuela. Venezuela, of course, we have seen recently, America has captured their president, etc. Vietnam, Virgin Island, Yemen. Yemen, civil war is happening. So these are actually under grey list. Now, what happened was later on, let's talk about 1996. We have seen World Bank, International Monetary Fund, World Trade Organizations were also invited in G7 summit. So their officials also come as an invited guest. So we have told you, you watched this class here. We have discussed in detail about World Bank, IMF, WTO, etc. Then what happens? Abhi important. 1997, 23rd G7 summit. Bill Clinton was the US president. Russia was invited to join. So from G7, it became G8. But G6 tha. 1975 summit, next year G7 बन गया, G8 बन गया 1997 में. Then actually that's what we are talking about. Russia added it, है ना. Then if you see further in detail, what happened was, yes, 2003 EVAN Lisbon summit happened. I've told you it was G8 at that time. And G8 countries, 5 were unofficially invited. Nice, India was also invited. Like this year also, we have seen a lot of guests invited. So right, so G8 summit happened in 2003 in EVAN Lisbon, the same place where it is happening this year. Now, another important event happened in 2014. Now, what happens in 2014 is actually, this is Russia, this is Ukraine. Now, let me zoom it further. So, this is Russia. This is Moscow of Russia. This is Ukraine. This is actually called as Crimea, or what we call it as Crimean Peninsula. Both you can write Crimea or Crimean Peninsula. It belonged to Ukraine, but Russia captured it. Russia attacked and captured this important location, island, or important peninsula in 2014. So here you'll find Sevastopol, very famous port city. This is Azov Sea. Here you'll find Rostov, port of Russia. And here you'll find a Don River coming. And something like that. Yes. So from here, actually from Istanbul, the ship comes and it crosses Kerch Strait. Here is Kerch Strait. And it can reach to Rostov. Okay. Now, the thing is, so here is Ukraine. This is Crimean Peninsula. Okay. So, यहाँ से ship जाती है, Kerch Strait है ये. So this was captured by Russia in 2014. So it was not actually a bloodless war. I mean, they captured it without any killings, mass killings, etc. So what happened was, when actually G7, when Russia captured it, from G8 Russia was expelled, and it again became G7 in 2014. Okay, that's what you should know. So emergency meeting happened and immediately Russia was removed. So that is what you should be knowing. And later on, we have seen in February 2022, Russia started fighting war in Ukraine. Also, they captured this region of Ukraine called as Donbass. Okay. Now, let us talk about the recent G7 summit. Now, whenever we are talking about right now, this year G7 summit is happening. So you should know where the next G7 summit is happening and where the last G7 summit happened. ये सब पूछते हैं एग्जाम में, फर्स्ट G7 समिट, लास्ट वाला कहाँ हुआ, अगला वाला कहाँ होगा, लाइक दैट. दीज आर द प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चन, लाइक फेमस क्वेश्चन, बिकॉज दे नो कि अच्छा ये तो आपको पता होगा. 15 to 17 June है ना, G7 summit happened in France. Emmanuel Macron is the president है ना of France, who is the host, main host. So last time it happened in Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, was the host. Again देखो same June time में हुआ था, same roughly same time. And Kananaskis is actually the city, Alberta is the province where it happened. ठीक है. Next year it will be happening in USA and Donald Trump most likely will be hosting this. Okay. उससे पहले वाला भी जानने जरूरत नहीं, बट आपको ये पता होना चाहिए. Right now is the 52nd G7 summit that is happening in France. So last year where it happened in Canada, Alberta, Kananaskis. Next year it will be happening in USA. Right now the city has not been declared, but it will be happening in USA. ठीक है. 52nd G7 summit right now happening. Evan Lisbon है ना. Haute-Savoie is the province है ना. This is the name of the city. Just remember the city, and it is in France, near Lake Geneva. मैंने आपको बता दिया है ना. A lot of delegates arrived through Geneva airport है ना. Although Geneva is actually in Switzerland. है ना. G7 summit day 1 highlights. PM Modi voices concern on maritime trade impact due to Hormuz. So we have discussed about it and a lot of times. So here is India, here is Iran. And this is very important, oil and natural gas location. A lot of oil and natural gas comes from here, even for India also. This is Strait of Hormuz, and Strait of Hormuz is getting blocked. We hope, like recently we have seen some sort of ceasefire. So we hope that this will continue. Let us wait for that. So this is actually getting blocked, है ना. तो ये बताया जा रहा है कि PM Modi voices concern on maritime trade impact due to Hormuz disruption, says several India lost their lives. And so at least 3 has lost their lives in recent days by attack from USA. That was actually very much in the news. So Modi ji has also raised the concern. Forging new partnership and rebuilding international solidarity. Anna, he participated in this session also. Okay. So yes, meanwhile, PM Modi expressed concern on the impact of disruption in maritime trade. Maritime trade means we are talking about ship trade. Shipping trade. Conflict in West Asia. So this entire region is called as West Asia also, Middle East, West Asia. ये सब मैंने बता रखा है. ठीक है. Well, to impose action on Russian oil, etc. G7 and Lake Geneva, etc. So you can see shared my thought at outreach session on forging new partnership and rebuilding international solidarity. ये पूछ सकते हैं कि किससे related था ये. Forging new partnership and rebuilding international solidarity happened where? So G7 summit and interconnected, interdependent even before, etc. So these are the things being discussed here. ठीक है. और मैंने आई सर्च थीम ऑल्सो बिकॉज समटाइम्स दे आर आस्किंग थीम्स ऑल्सो. तो ये थीम एक्सप्लिसिटली तो कोई थीम मिला नहीं, बट एक्चुअली दिस इज व्हाट आई गॉट, वर्किंग टुगेदर टू एड्रेस मेजर इंटरनेशनल चैलेंजेस और रिड्यूसिंग ग्लोबल इकोनॉमिक इंबैलेंसेस. हालांकि एक्सप्लिसिटली उन लोगों ने दे हैव नॉट मेंशन एनी क्लियर कट थीम और मोटो ऑफ दिस ईएस G7 समिट. ठीक है. G7 calls for strong coordinated response against Ebola outbreak. I'm sure you must be aware. We have seen Ebola in Democratic Republic Congo and Uganda in recent days. ये Uganda है, ये DRC है. So Ebola was already there, like we have seen earlier, but this year we are seeing Bundibugyo virus, Ebola. This is very dangerous because they do not have vaccine or medicine right now. And that's why it is problematic. And in fact, we had to cancel. We were doing 4th India-Africa Forum Summit was also supposed to happen from 20th to 31st May. That has been postponed. Again, International Big Cat Alliance Summit was supposed to happen in New Delhi in India. Both were supposed to happen in India, but we had to postpone because we had to invite officials from Africa. And right now, Ebola situation is there. It has been declared as public health emergency of international concern. Ituri province is there, है ना? In DRC, Democratic Republic Congo, वहाँ Ebola declare कर दिया गया. So it has been declared as public health emergency of international concern by WHO. Okay, तो इसीलिए important हो जाता है ना? So that's what you should know, है ना? Lead us to discuss security risk posed by AI also and social media. So AI के बारे में काफी discussion हुआ. So Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, which has come up with ChatGPT. वो भी थे, and other Anthropic, very famous AI model, है ना? उसके भी चीफ वगैरह को बुलाया गया था. मिस्टर AI एंड अदर्स के चीफ को बुलाया गया था. They were invited. Because of course we are living in an era of AI, artificial intelligence, and that's why it becomes very, very important. So this is all about today's class. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, share this video. Thank you everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.